So I would
Okay.
suggest that we start from 13 console.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to start from 13.
Because I was not even in that class.
All right. So we're all familiar with the console object, at least console.log. Everybody that has passed through here so far is familiar with it. So we'll talk more about, the console and other console object methods. So some people may not need to know or usually don't know which to use. Console.log, document.write, get element by ID. But yeah, at least by the end of today, you should know more about console methods. So we use console object methods to show outputs on the browser console. Document.write is a DOM method for showing outputs on the browser documents, in the actual part of the page. So both methods are used for testing and debugging purposes. The console method is the most popular testing and debugging tool on the browser. I mean, there's just so much it can help you with. So we use let's ignore this one. This is DOM manipulation. It will come at the end, a few days later. In addition to the famous console.log methods, the console provides other methods. Um, so in this list of methods, I noticed there is no console.debug. So as we're treating console.log now, we'll talk about console.debug. We already know console.log. It just shows outputs on the browser console. You can have one thing inside. You can have multiple things, like with a comma separated inside, and it's just going to show them all like that. Let's look at a few interesting things we can do with it. Substitution. I think for this we have to actually use a browser. I don't think Kuka is going to show us this. For this, no problem. Yeah, I doubt Kuka is going to show us this.
I think you are using
Yeah, it just looks the same. So we need to use a browser console. So I'll just create a random index of HTML. So this is data10.js. Which shall we go? Okay, so let's go back and look at this. Okay, so we can substitute values and we can also style the login outputs using %C. But throwing away that one first, let's look at this substitution. They had this, this is a variable, this is a variable, and then we have something and something. So let's try and really understand, why it had to be %D. Can we make it %F? Can we make it %G? You know? All right, so we have %D 30 days of JavaScript. It's 30, there's days. So let's change this a bit first. R. Okay, so R didn't work. It didn't show 30 days. That is interesting.
Sorry,
This
I don't
30.
understand. I don't understand what you are doing.
Okay, this percentage D is a variable. Percentage S is a variable, right?
Okay.
So this was passed in first, and then we had two other things passed in. Normally, for example, this 30 days of JavaScript, if you put in 30 after it and days after it, this is what you get. You get the first thing, and then something else, the second thing, and the second thing. You understand? If you have a console log with multiple things in it, like separated by commas, it's just going
Okay.
to show you the first thing, a space, the next thing, a space, the next thing, like this.
Okay.
Yeah. But in this case, we had three things in this console log separated by commas. But we're only seeing, it used this, like it kind of substituted this into here, this one into here. You understand? So at the
Okay.
end of the day, we're
Okay.
not having all of them showing up. We're just having only this first one. So this percentage D became 34,
Variable.
percentage S became days. So we want to understand exactly how this variable thing inside console log works. And you
Okay.
use any variable, any letter you like, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I changed this from percentage D and it didn't work. This one as well. Yeah, failed. So let's just check out if it's
Oh, sorry, could you change the 34 to like a string?
so a string. Okay. It's still 34. Okay, this looks like they may have something nice. Okay, string substitution tokens. Percentage S can be used in console log, console info, blah, 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 blah. Simply append an argument for each token present in the message. Okay, I think I need to zoom this in. So here they did that. They use percentage S for strings. Okay. So I guess it has to be percentage S. So why was this D? Maybe this is D because...
D for digits.
Yeah, D for digit. Because I just remember that in regex, D is
Yes.
numbers and S is, letters, alphabets. Yeah, so maybe
No, we
maybe
just
that's
passed
how
a
it was.
string and it worked.
It's
Yeah.
because it's 34. If you
Maybe it's
you,
like
you
a
know
type
Okay,
conversion
try.
stuff or something.
Okay, try actual letters then.
good, yes.
Okay,
In place
let
of
me make this 70. Let me flip it around. So
Okay.
for D, we're using this string, and for S, we're using a number. Let's see what happens. It still worked. So it feels like you can use D or S as you please. So if we add one more variable, percentage S, oh, it has to be inside. Percentage S, and we say it's nice. Okay, I already had a space and I shouldn't have added this space. Yeah, so 3470 of JavaScript is nice. So it's just going to read them in order. The first variable is going to correspond with the first order item you have after the comma, after whatever string has those variables. Second one, second item, third one, third item. So I wonder what happens if this is removed. Or let's say this is something else, an array with hello. Okay, so feels like coercion, type coercion. It's coercing this to become a string. Maybe that's why this 34 worked, because it coerced it to be a number.
Yeah, I think so too.
So if I wrote 30, probably we'll see NaN. Yeah, so that's it. So percentage %d is looking for numbers. If you put something that is not a number, it will coerce it to be a number. And you might get NaN if you write something wrong.
But for S, to take anything.
For S is string. So anything you write, it's going to coerce it to become a string.
Okay.
So I think if this is an object, we should see object.
So okay, you have put, okay, to coerce it to become a string.
Yeah, and if you coerce an object to become a string, you would see this object.
Okay.
So any questions about this substitution? No questions. All right, so we move on.
But what I want to know is, when do you even use these things? Like in the real world?
All these things are, this, like they said, these console methods are for debugging and testing.
Okay.
Honestly, this thing, I have never seen a situation where I needed it. All I need is console log, really. At best, console.error. But these ones, chance never day. It's just something fun. Yeah, really. It's just something fun. All right, so since substitution, now CSS. We can style the login messages using CSS. I don't know, this could be fun, say if you were creating, but then people don't really use console. It's again, it's just for fun, really. It's just, that JavaScript can do this. You can use it to show off one day. So we can style login messages using CSS. Copy the following code and paste in the browser console to see the result. So I think we're going to still go and research a bit on this. So here we have %C. So it seems all these weird console things. It's a percentage and what's it called? A letter. It does something. So %C is for CSS, sort of. The %C, 30 days of JavaScript. And we have this color green. If you're writing inline CSS, this is how it would be, sort of color green. Okay? And then here we have something else. We have this %C, 30 days, %C off. Okay, so they had a lot more %Cs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But here we're seeing 5 things. There's color green, nothing, empty string, color red, empty string, color yellow. So let's go find out how that will look. Okay, so the first one, we had this, I don't know, let me just call it a flag. Let's just call it a CSS flag, right? And there was one more input, color green. And so the whole text became green. But this second one, we had this CSS flag in multiple places. So at the beginning of before 30, color green. After 30, probably that's the empty string. Sorry, after days. Okay, so 30 days were green. Here, before off, there was color red. After off, empty string. Okay, and then for this, color yellow. And at the end, nothing. So that makes me feel like if I remove this, nothing would change. That's right, nothing changed. So as usual, these CSS flags, they just correspond to whatever you are seeing here. So this is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one, fourth one, fifth one. All right. So it makes me wonder, if we wrote what other color is there? Blue. If we wrote blue here, nothing. Okay. So it seems once this flag shows up, everything after that flag until some other flag is going to have that CSS applied to it. So this one now is blue, color blue. But before it reaches any actual letter, we have another one taking over, color red. So you don't see the blue showing up. I guess this space, if it could have a color, then it would be blue. This empty. Okay. Also.
Sorry, that was a mistake. Sorry.
Okay.
Put a text after that blue one. And let's see whether something.
Okay. Let me make it an underscore. So we have an underscore after blue and before red. Yeah, the underscore is blue.
Okay.
So it makes me wonder, can this apply to other things? Or if I said this thing, font size, is there the dash? 30 px. Okay. So you can apply more than just color. So what if I said, seems this 30 is too big. Let me say 20. And color purple. Okay. So you can apply multiple things. Just treat it like, that style attribute in inline CSS styling for HTML. So obviously you can't do crazy things like over or it's just things that would show an immediate change. Let me see. Font family cursive. Okay, I feel like this spoils the whole thing. Okay, it's this. Yeah, that's cursive. So, anything somebody wants to try?
Give it an insane amount of margin.
Insane amount of margin. Insane, it's crazy. Let's not be crazy. Okay. 55. Yeah. I guess the sides on won't work so much because there's only so much side, so it will reflect more up and down. Even this one is shifted. So it all works. So that's the CSS. I'm just calling it flag, or It doesn't mean that it's called CSS flag. Just because I want to name it something. So that's the CSS flag for styling your outputs from console log. Okay, so before we go to one, there is console.debug. Console.debug is, I don't know, it's very, very similar to console log. They are pretty much the same thing, but there is a little difference. Let's say this, for example. I noticed it in a React project. Console.log, if you put it somewhere, it's going to show up every time, all the time, right? Now, console.debug, I'm not sure whether it was because it was strict mode, because, by default, if you, let's say, use Vite or CRA to start a React project, it's on strict mode. So I'm not sure whether it was because of the strict mode, but console.debug will not immediately show up in the browser console. You would have to come over here, this levels place, and actually select, I think, verbose. Then you will see it. So if this verbose is, okay, let's try it here. Aha, it went away. So I don't even need to open that project. Console.debug will not show up if verbose is not selected. So that's, will I say, the only difference. Okay.
What's the name of the book?
Verbose is like into details. As that's what I think that's the English meaning of verbose. Like so much details is unnecessary or something like that. Aha. Using or expressed in more words than are needed. That's verbose. So console.debug shows up if verbose is selected. Console.log shows up if info is selected. So let me see. If I remove verbose, yeah. So I guess that's the difference between them, right? Log is info, debug is verbose. Okay. Let's have them all back on. Okay, console.one. We use console.one to give warnings on browser. For instance, to inform or warn depreciation or deprecation of version of a package or bad practices. So let's just try this. Yeah, so this is how warning looks like. I'm sure you've seen this a lot in browsers. So it always has this yellowish background and this icon. And it opens up, there can be more info inside. I'm not sure how we can add more info, sure. But anyway, that's that.
So what are you trying to use it to do now? Because I know that normally, even if you don't put this console.one, if you go to your browser and you log something and the thing is not right, it will give you a warning sign.
To give you a warning. If you log something that is not right, like what?
Like for instance now,
Yeah.
if you have
Yeah.
an error in your code, you get, if you
Error
try
in
to, like maybe for instance you want to log something on your code car, and when you
yeah.
log it did not work because maybe there's an error in your code. If you come to your console, it will still detect the error. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Let me try writing something
Just
funny.
put check.
I'm trying to look for something wrong I can write that will give maybe a syntax error or something like that.
Okay. Plus none.
Yeah, so this is what you get. It's not warning, you
Uh-huh.
get the actual error stuff.
Okay, that one
This
is
one
not
is
one.
this one is console.error.
Okay.
Well, I think warning is like, for example, now like, I think like in React, if you probably like map through an array and then it
Without
kind of
using
tells
key.
you, yeah, without using key, then it signals you
Aha.
with a warning that you should add
Okay.
keys to it.
All right. So you can see, for us, will I say the end users, we don't really see much use to use console.one. But say you're creating packages or libraries, then you might see the needs. Because the fact that you are seeing that warning in your console means that the React team used console.one. So in such a situation where somebody maps through an array to create some components and didn't use a key for those components, then console.one this error. You understand? So that means even these our interesting CSS and substitution things, the chance to use them might come if you were creating libraries or stuff like that. It doesn't mean that if the moment you start creating libraries, you'll see chance to use it. It's just it will be helpful to know at that point, I guess. But as you are creating things for users directly, users are not expected to go look at the console. So you probably would never need to use these. But again, it's still fun to know because you don't know what you'll be doing tomorrow. And it's not good to look so, will I say, surprised. If somebody ever does this in your front, you'll be like, wow, how did that happen? You know, go look nice. Okay, so that was the one. So next is console.error. So this is the one I guess I use more. Because let's say you have a try and catch, and in the catch part you could just say console.error so and so, and it will just show up as red, which is quite catchy. All right, so that's that. Just to confirm, I believe we can still use these substitutions. Even in console.error or one, right?
You know that time that we were looking at the documentation for that,
Yeah.
they indicated the ones you can use it for.
Oh, I guess I did not see that.
They indicated it.
Yeah,
I
it
don't know
still
if
showed up.
I did not cram
It still
it.
showed up.
Okay.
It still showed up. Let me add a comma. We all make mistakes, don't we? So it still showed up. So I think, but let's look at it, sure. Okay, can be used in .log, info, debug, one. error. Okay, that's cool. So it seems it can be used in tables, which makes sense, because tables are something else.
So wait first.
Yeah.
When I'm writing code, I will not go and write console.error. I don't understand.
Have you used the try and catch before?
No, I'm not using it.
Okay, the next lesson is for error handling. We're going to use try and catch there.
Okay.
In a try and catch, you say try this code. You write a bunch of code there. A lot of times it's usually asynchronous code. You're trying to fetch something or blah blah blah. You try. If anything inside there fails for any reason, there's an error and the code cannot go on, it will move to the catch block. So at that point, basically, once it enters the catch block, once the compiler has to read the catch block, there's an error. So it's not a bad idea to use console.error there, since if at all that code will ever run, then it means that there was an error. So it's just fun that, if you look in your browser console, you see this, and you know that this is not a good thing. You had a problem. You understand? It's not like it's by force to use the console.error. It's just to make the thing more catchy. It's just more suited for errors. Imagine seeing this an error message like this and seeing it like this. Which one feels more like an error to you?
I get you.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
prettier, what does it do again? It's not autocomplete. So.
Prettier is an auto formatter. You write
Like,
your code anyhow you want to write it, it will format it for you. Format as in, let's say this HTML, for example. See how these metas, are just one tab away from heads.
yes.
Let's say we had a div,
Yes.
and inside this div we have a p tag, and inside this p tag we have a span. Okay, you see how it's looking in here. Just stuff like that.
Okay, the indentation is done by the prettier.
Indentation, I think there are some other things aside from indentation, but I guess the most glaring one is the indentation. So you have something like this. If for any reason this one shifted, and I think it's just if you save or if you press enter, I'm not sure. Prettier is going to just on its own shift that back for you. Well, I don't really roll well with Prettier. I wanted to use it one time and maybe I wasn't able to set it up well or something, so it has just been, I've been forgotten I have.
What about that one? Emmet.
What?
What's the name? Emmet.
Emmet.
Install it.
I think so. I think I have
Try doing that. No work.
I think I have an
You do
extension.
You wrap it around.
I think you have to configure the prettier for it to work. There's a way to configure it.
Yeah, on VS Code you need to configure it. I guess that's why it's showing me this red and this error sign. For Emmet, I feel like it's a natural VS Code ability. I don't think I have any extension that is Emmet related.
Yeah, it's supported by VS Code, so if you
Yeah,
have VS
normal.
Code, it comes
Yeah.
with it.
So you can do that. Okay, so table. The console.table the console.table method displays data as a table on the console. Displays tabular data as a table. It takes one required argument data, which must be an array or an object, and additional optional parameter column. So let's start with a simple array. The code below shows a table with two columns, an index column to display the index and a value column to display the names. So let's have a look at that. Coca even showed this one. But the other things didn't show them. Okay, this one showed as error, but the warnings didn't show in Coca terminal. That's nice. Alright, so we just had an array of strings. And once we did console.table for that array, we had this index and value. Okay, and here it still shows the array beneath, but the main thing is the table. Any confusion about this so far?
What do you use it for?
Again, showing data nicely. You know?
Put object, let
Okay.
us see what.
Yeah, I think the next thing that they will talk about is object. So let's also check the result of an object. This creates two columns, an index column containing the keys and a value column containing the values. Okay, so the table headers are still the same thing. So the difference now is just that instead of seeing numbers, which actually are the indexes of the array, we are seeing, you know, those keys of the objects. And the values are still, you know, so nice, right?
I'm just thinking, if I have a long list of arrays, like a 1,000 data, I can be able to use it to get the index. Instead of going through that stress.
Oh, but that's, yeah, I mean, that's like using a sledgehammer to...
That thing is too long. It's not have use.
It's just for showing things nicely, if you ever have a need for that. Okay, so here we have an array of arrays. So let's see how that one will look too. Okay, so index for the main array, and then in here we have items. Okay, here we have index in the main array, and here we have index in the smaller arrays. So 0 in the first array is Finland, 0 in the second array is Sweden. You get. So let's take this further by adding a third item. What do we call this? Let's call this random. Okay. So the theory checks out. Index in the main array and index in the smaller arrays. That's all we get. So out of curiosity, if this wasn't random, but also this, what shall we see? Okay, it just says that there's an array. because there's no third dimension to to put to show indexes anymore. So any confusion about this?
No.
All right. So
Uh,
let's
could
look at
you could
yeah
you change one of the arrays to like an object?
an object. I don't want to do that because the next thing here is an array of objects.
Oh, okay.
Why does it keep coming out? Okay. So just like before, over here is indexes in the main array, the outer array. And over here we have indexes in the individual objects. Oh, that's cool. You can even what's the word? It's not sort. It's no, it's sort. You can sort by each of these things, each of these headers. This is smallest to biggest, biggest to smallest. But by default, it's sorted by index. So that's interesting too. In case you have a bunch of data and you just want to sort through it in the console. I guess we found one use for this, right? Jomasi and her 1000 element array. If you ever, if you ever have a need to sort through it without, having to write code and display the code, you just console.table it and come here and sort. Okay, so all these objects have name, title, country, city, and age. If we decided to remove age for one of them, we notice that that one just has an empty field. We decided to make this one an array. Yeah, as expected, we just see array showing up because once again, we've already used the 2 dimensions. There is no third dimension to use and show the indexes in this array. So it's not even going to bother to just tell you that is an array. And if we made country an object, yeah, it's just going to show this. So I think that's that for console.table. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so next is console.time. Before we move on, any questions about console.table?
Okay, yes. Can we still mix arrays and objects together? I want to see how it's going to put in a tabular form.
Okay. So here we had these. All right. So let's have an object instead. I should have asked before I did this. Well, anyway, you get it's still the same. This is for indexes in the main array, the outer array, and this is for indexes in its elements. So we have 1, 0, 1, 2, we have name and country. Yeah, it makes me wonder, what if something here is not an object or anything? Again, random. Okay, it shows up as value. Hmm.
I think I'm lost. I beg. This last one that we did, is it the one for the countries, right? Countries.
Okay. Sorry, what was your question?
I said the one that we're trying to change. Is it the one for the
Yeah.
country?
Yeah, it's the one for the countries, Finland, Helsinki. We had an array of smaller arrays, and those arrays just had like two things inside: a country and its capital, country and its capital, like that. So now we're trying to mix it up. We added, these three were just arrays. So now we added an object inside. It had a name property and a country property. Okay, and a value property. Okay, let's leave the value for now. It had a name and country property. So it showed up because it's the second item in the array, so it shows up in index 1. But the indexes of that object are not 0, 1, 2. They are name and country. So it created a new column for those indexes, name, country. So now, next I added an item into the main array, the third item. It wasn't an object or an array. It was just a string, random. So it created a new column and called this value. So I decided to just try and see. This is my object. If I give it a property called value, just like this, would it create its own column or it would show up here? But it created its own column.
Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah, so you can see this. This is the normal arrays. 1, 2, 3. Then I added this object and this just a string. So any more questions about table? None whatsoever. All right, so moving on. The next thing is console.time and info. Oh, there's still more. That's nice. Okay, so console.time starts a timer, which you can use to track how long an operation takes. You'll give each timer a unique name and may have up to 10,000 timers running on a given page. That's just plenty. When you call console.timeEnd with the same name, the browser will output the time in milliseconds that elapsed since that timer was started. So we sometimes use this to measure how long a function takes to run on a given machine. So I guess with experiments like this, it would tell you that for loop runs the fastest. I think after that should be for off, then maybe for each and map, that kind of thing. So let's try it out. Let's just have this. I don't like it when this thing does like this. Okay, so we have countries. Let me make this. Okay, so I will just make this countries 2 instead. Alright, so the original array of arrays. And now we have console.time and we give it a name, regular for loop. So we loop through countries dot length, and each time we console log the first item and the second item for that smaller array. And at the end, console dot time end regular for loop. So we have for off loop. Same thing, looping again over countries, console log name and city, because it was structured here to be name and city. End of console.time ends for off loop. Console.time for each loop. Yeah, same thing happening. Okay, so even here we can already, yeah.
Wait, I was thinking you would tell me the number of time, the time it would take for it to run. It's not showing time.
And we're going to see it in the browser, but for now, let's still look at it here in Coca.
Okay.
So regular for loop, 2.241 milliseconds.
Okay.
For off loop, 1.57. For each loop, 1.361. That's just crazy. Normally, for loop is supposed to be the fastest. Why is this thing?
So this is not time complexity thing.
No, it's not time complexity. Time complexity actually tries to avoid this, because this is only giving me 6 point this milliseconds on this system. I can go to another system and it will be 10 milliseconds. This exact same thing. I can go to another system and it will be 1 millisecond. So time complexity tries to remove that, when I say machine performance stuff, and still try to look at how to optimize functions and operations. All right, so we got this regular for loop, 6.4, blah, 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 ms, for off loop, 10 for each, 3.6. So I think one thing is the same in both places, that for each is the fastest. But why? You see, the times are different. For different reasons, this one is 3.1 for now. And this one now is 22, while this one is 1.2. So, now things are different. Now for loop is the fastest. Okay, anyway, that's that. So you can see that the results of it are not standard. And it's not like the console.time function is really malfunctioning. These things are in milliseconds, right? They are in such tiny fractions of time that we can't really differentiate between 2.5 and even 250. So it could be random things happening around the system that is causing all these changes. So that's that for time. Then console.info. It just displays information message on console. I think this is the one that is most similar to console.log. Because you noticed that if we remove info, console.logs go away. So I think actually console.info is the one that is most like console.log. I don't see the need to write that here. It's just console.log. Console.assets writes an error message to the console if the assertion is false. If the assertion is true, nothing happens. The first parameter is an assertion expression. If this expression is false, an assertion failed error message will be displayed. Now this is worthy of being written. I think I need to be adding these things. install this debug. All right, console.asset. So console.asset, 4 is greater than 3. So we see this, 4 is greater than 3. And then this 3 is greater than 4. So the message written here is 3 is not greater than 4. So let's go look at it. Oh, and plenty. So this is line 112, but we have a line 111. 4 is greater than 3, right? This one is actually true. So nothing shows. No result. Nothing shows in here. The last thing we're seeing is the for each loop time. And this time around, wow, it's so fast now. I mean, 0.4, 0.8, 6, 1. Interesting. Yeah, so this one failed. 3 is not greater than 4. Okay, so console.asset will only show the message if the first item, the first parameter is a failure, like it's untrue, it's false. So let me even write false. Yeah, so as long as it's a false or falsy value, we get 3 is not greater. Okay, we've only tried false, we've not really tried the falsy value. So let me say 0. Yes, assertion failed, 3 is not greater than 4. As long as this is a falsy value, the assertion will fail and this would show up. So let's look over here. We have this loop. Let I be 0, I less than or equal to 10, I plus plus. So let error message be this. That number is not even. And we console log, the number is this. So the number is 0, the number is 1, the number is 2, the number is 3, like that. And so we console.asset, basically that number modulus 2 is equal to 0. So for 0, nothing showed up. For 1, assertion failed. 1 is not even. 2, nothing showed up. 3 failed. 3 is not even. Okay. So any questions about assertion?
Could you try taking off the assertion message and see if it just shows there without the message?
Okay. Yeah. No, wait. Were we seeing console.asset before?
I don't think we were.
We weren't.
No.
Okay. So if I put this, okay, because there was nothing at all. We're seeing console.asset. So if I said no, it shows no. And it shows position undefined. Because that's basically what nothing means. It shows undefined. But if you don't have anything, then it will show console.asset. That's interesting. Okay. Any questions about assets? whatsoever. So we move on. Console.group. So the console.group can help to group different log groups. Copy the following code and paste it on the browser console to the groups. So we have names, we have countries, we have user, we have users. Wait. So we have console.group names. You log names and then group ends. So I'm not going to copy this code they have here. Instead, I'm going to try to use it over here, right? Because we do have groups in our code, these groups. So let's try to use that here. So it feels like console.time, where you have a beginning, a starting stuff and ending stuff. The difference is that here you have the name in the opening method. Console.group, let's call this .log method. Okay. So at the end, we're just going to have console.group end. Okay. Console.group, and this would be it's going to take a while to write. Let's copy this and copy this. So group ends here. So this one is 1. This is error. Suppose the downside to this is that we're not going to have console.group like as a group inside this code. It's just going to be everywhere. It will not have its own place. So I'll just go even though it will not see use. Alright, let's go see how that will look. Okay, so cool. We have the .log method. It can be collapsed. The .debug method, collapsible. So this is cool, right? All right, so that was the group. Next we have count. It prints the number of times the
Go
console.count
back to
is
the
called.
console, please.
Sorry?
Please go back to the console before you collapsed it. Let me see what's there. Is it like it's showing you that these ones are in one place? I don't understand.
Here, you noticed how we put, like for log now. These were the three. These were the three console methods used: log and info, right?
Okay.
So I added console.group and a tag on top, and console.group end at the bottom. And so it did this. It created a collapsible here that just has our three logs, and you can collapse it. In case you don't want to see this anymore because you're taking space, collapse it. So
Okay, but choose the
again,
group start and group end.
yeah, not really group start, just group, and then a name to identify it by. That
Okay.
name is what will show up here.
I
So
understand.
wherever the group ends, yeah. Okay, console.count prints the number of times the console.count method is called. It takes a string label parameter. It's very helpful to count the number of times a function is called. In the following example, the console.count method will run 3 times. So func, this function called func, we console.count function has been called. Oh, that's nice. Wrong move. Alright, so func. And let's go see what we shall see. Cooker is being interesting. Function has been called 34. Where are the others? People. Wow, this one is crazy over here. Anyway, this is the main place that we're supposed to be. So count. Function has been called 1, 2, 3. So it makes me wonder, what if this wasn't put? Okay, it's just going to say default. So once again, let's try our weird things. If you put null, it's going to say null. If you put undefined, I'm sure it will say undefined.
How did you know that a thing was called 3 times?
Oh, undefined goes to default. Yeah, how did it know it was called 3 times? Because it counts. The first time this runs, this is called. So that's 1. Okay, let's try something else.
And I've seen it. You
And
call
could
it
you
without you can
hello
ask
Eddie,
a
can you hear
question.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Could you do like an arithmetic operation since it returns a number, let's say console.count times 2?
That's true. Does it return a number? Because we are not seeing the count. We don't have access to count. The count only shows up
Okay.
here. Okay, it seems it counts the number of times console.count itself is called. Because here I have 2 different functions. There's func and func2. And they are both calling this. They're both calling console.count. But, okay, let me change this one to Let's make it a number and see what happens. Oh, okay. It's about what is passed in here. You understand? Earlier there was nothing there was undefined in both of them. So it was looking at them as the same thing. But now we have undefined and we have two. Yeah. So this is default 1, 2, 3, and this one is being called 1, 2, 3. So it just uses this.
So even if you are performing different operations in both functions, as far you input the same name.
Yeah, as far as you put the same name, it will count it and show in the console. Okay, and it ignores any other parameters.
Okay.
Only the two shows up. Yeah, I don't think we have any access to the number itself. It just takes in a string and returns void. Okay, so the last one is console.clear. It cleans the browser console. So that one I can just write here, console.clear. Yeah. And the return value is undefined.
Is it different from just clear?
From just clear. Let's try that. How is the clear used?
Just write clear then enter.
Okay, so you have to add the brackets. I think
What about if you press the button, the stop button at the top?
Yeah, that also
the
clears.
The round one. Okay.
Yeah, this you can see clear console is written in the. So I think clear ran or works because of this. Like inside here, the object, the window, the main object is console itself. So if you run anything, it's the main object dot that stuff. So I think log should show up. Log didn't show up. Fine. Oh god, log is not defined. Okay. So I was wrong then. So why did they make clear show up by itself? That's interesting. So anyway, you've seen it, console.clear or just clear, but you have to add the brackets, yeah, and it's clear. So that's where we end for today. There are these exercises that are interesting. So I'm actually the one that is in charge of exercises for everybody, and it's annoying. So I'm thinking of of automating the process. I've been thinking of a website for Coders Den for a while, so I think this should make me expedite my plans.
It will be a fun project.
What?
I said that will be a fun project.
Oh, you're here.
I've been here for a while. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, it will be it will be a fun project. The thing that has been holding me back, one was time, and the other was actually what's this thing called? UI.
So have you gotten a UI now?
I saw this nice template that I'm going to move and use. It's a Next.js template, but let me even see. I'm not sure it's 14. I doubt it's 14. But I don't want to use a very previous version of Next. even if it's not going to be 14, then I would like it to be 13 at least. So if this is not 14, then it means there are some changes to be done. Because I saw another template. That one, the next version was even 10. That was just crazy. See, this is 12. I can't use 12 because it won't have all these server components and client components. I want to use it to get more familiar with them. So maybe I'll use this, upgrade the next version, and try to sort out any issues that show up. And then it will be open source, but I'll just have to run the setup first. So once something has shown up, like it's usable, and then people can start contributing. You make a change, it should be fun. Yeah, so that's that. I've been thinking about how these exercises will be submitted. For now, it looks like we'll take the troublesome route for a start. For each of the days, it will be set in. There'll be like for this one now, there will be level 1, number 1 in the UI on the front end. So you would have to paste in your answer to the question. If you have a function, and I guess if it requires a function, a function name will be given. You know how code was like gives you a sample function name.
Yeah.
So use any other weird thing, you're on your own. Something like that. These ones now is just display the country's array as a table. So anyhow, as the thing starts, I'm sure there will be, because not everything is the same. We'll be working out those errors.
And but pending that, how are they going to be submitted? A repo, forms, manual?
Oh.
Yeah, because this one looks like something that would take weeks at least. If I'm being generous, I think weeks. Yeah. So pending that, what would they use? What should they use? Yeah.
Well, I guess we can use a Google form to, show some progress. You see, the problem, why I'm hesitant to even drop that link is that I know I will not look at those things. I know. I will not look at those. I mean, how many people will be dropping stuff? I will not check them. But if this thing is automated now,
yeah,
you can see immediately, just there and then, that, okay, you had an issue with number 1, you had an issue with number 2, and you try to fix it. Anyway, that's that. Yeah, it will be.
We'll bring you for the hackathon.
The last thing will scream now.